Mobile Optimized and Responsive Themes webinar. Today I will talk to you about the importance of mobile optimized websites, what to consider when you're planning your website, and some tools that maybe can help you achieve those goals. Okay, so why should your site be mobile friendly? Well, starting on March 26, 2018 of this year, of course, Google announced that they started rolling out their mobile first index. So what does that mean for us? It means that they will predominantly rely on the mobile version of the content for indexing and ranking in search query results. So normally what they do is crawling, indexing, and ranking systems uses the desktop version of a page's content. With mobile first indexing, Google will start to rank your mobile and desktop sites based on the crawl index from the mobile view. Okay, so why mobile first? Well, according to Google, the majority of their users now access its search engine and other devices via a mobile device. The trend is that more and more people have mobile devices. It's small, it's convenient, you can put it in your pocket, it's always available on your fingertips. Now, Google has done some studies, and according to them, they found that 75% of people reported that it helps them be more productive. So they're using their mobile device as a productivity tool that helps them get things done. And also they found that because they're more productive, it reduces less stress and anxiety. And as a result, they found that 54% reported that it does reduce stress and anxiety. And also, they reported that it gives people a sense of accomplishment. It helps them feel more confident and prepared based on what they can use their phones for. And they reported that 60% of people reported that it makes them feel more confident and prepared. So Google also looked at the consumer daily behavior to help further the point of why mobile is important. So let's look at the 5 areas in the daily use of a smartphone. They identified the first one as the spark. So what is a spark? It's an idea that pops up in your head. So with a smartphone, you don't have to wait to go somewhere to look it up. You can just pull it out and immediately look up what you need to know, right? And the other thing that they identified is an urgent need. So what is an urgent need? For example, you ran out of something and you need something right away. Where do you go? You pull out your phone to find the closest store, or you need to buy a last minute gift and you need to find something that's open right now. So that is something that customers use their phone for something for immediate satisfaction. So another thing is the in-store assistant. They're using it more and more to help them make some choices. For example, they may be browsing in a store and there are so many choices. So what do? You pull out your phone, you search for reviews. They use it for guidance. So they use their phone as a tool for guidance. Okay, so micro productivity. So what is this? This is when you're stuck in a waiting room or you're online somewhere, but you know that you need to do some chores. You haven't had time to do it earlier, so you do what is called virtual chores. You can go shop online for things that you need. You don't need it right away, but you know you have to do it, so why not do it while you have some downtime waiting, for example, at a doctor's office. And also another item is planning ahead. So you're going to go out somewhere later to a location, a new place, or a new restaurant. You may use it to map out a route, to look at the menu, or browse the website of the location you're visiting, so that when you get there, you're familiar with the place. So they use it also as a tool to plan ahead. So it seems that more and more, the smartphone has become an integral part of people's daily lives. So it's important to take mobile into consideration when we are doing work on our websites. Okay, so now the next topic is when will mobile first index fully roll out? Google doesn't have a date for it yet. They haven't announced it yet. They want to see how it goes first. Right now, they're only rolling it out to users that they have identified that have mobile-friendly sites, and they notified these users through a search console that they have. We'll talk a little bit about that later, but at the moment they will only push it out if they feel confident with the mobile index. So will the change impact the new search results now? Well, according to Google, it shouldn't affect mobile first indexing at this stage. They hope that there is little impact as they roll it out fully. So there should not be any effect at this time. Okay, so moving on. Okay, so Google has come as a tool that can help you see how your site performs in search. This tool is called Google's Search Console. It's a free tool. You can manage and monitor your site's search results. It provides information that you can use maybe to help improve your site pages. For example, it tells you the number of queries. These are the keywords that people use to come to your site, the number of clicks and devices used. What we're interested in right now is what kind of devices are used. And the other thing that you could also do is submit an XML sitemap. We won't be talking about how to do that, but we do have information on bookweb.org on submitting an XML sitemap to your IndieCommerce site. So if you don't submit it to a search console, you could at least submit it to your, set it up for your IndieCommerce site, because it will help you. Adding it won't hurt you. It will only help you. Because what is a sitemap? A sitemap is like a blueprint for your site. It makes it easier for Google to find your pages. And this is helpful if your site is new, it's very large, or it doesn't have a lot of links to it. Having a sitemap will help Google crawl your site. So in order to have a sitemap, of course, you have to have a sitemap.xml file. And for IndieCommerce sites, as I said before, you can set it up for IndieCommerce. We have instructions on bookweb.org. You have to request a module be enabled, and that sitemap can be submitted through the Google Search Console. And you can also connect it to Google Analytics, and I'll show you some links to help you with that in a little bit. But what kind of information does Search Console provide? One thing that they provide is information about your search traffic. Okay? So for example, which queries causes your site to appear in search results? Which queries result in more traffic to your site than others? Or which sites are linking to your site? Are you performing well in Google? So they have what is called metrics, the search analytics, that can help you find out all that information. So the first thing, the terms that you should be familiar with when you are in Search Console are clicks. These are the number of visits to your site. Impressions, how often it appears in search but not clicked on. The click-through rate, which is CTR. This is the percentage of clicks divided by impressions. And the position. This is the average across all queries of your topmost link position. And of course, the queries that your site appear for in search results, and the type of device your users are using to get to your site.
I would just like to say a few words and regarding Google Analytics. and the Google Console. We will be presenting a separate webinar, which will take you through the steps of setting it up. The way Shanti is going to show today is once you just set up the information that you can obtain from there, how it can actually prove that responsiveness is important for your website. So we are just using the data from the Google Analytics, but about how to set up Google Analytics, we will have a separate webinar on that.
Okay, thank you, Geeta. Yes, I should have mentioned to you that we will not be going over how to set up Google Analytics, but there is important information that you can get from Google, from the Search Console. And what we're looking at right now is an example of Search Analytics in Search Console. As you can see on the left-hand side here, you can see there's a tab for search traffic, and you can see all the other links that we will not be going over. And you can see the highlighted in red is Search Analytics. And I've put check marks on clicks, impressions, CRTs, and positions just to show you what it can look like when you do go into Search Console. And if you can see the total number of clicks for this particular store, and this is a real IndieCommerce store that has been great at letting us use their Search Console information. For example, you can see the total number of clicks here is 64 within the last 28 days, and we see at the bottom there, because I check marked, I also selected devices because I'm interested in knowing how many people are coming, how many clicks we have from various different devices. And as you can see down here, if you look a little lower, it breaks the devices down by mobile, desktop, and tablet. And you can see that there are 50 clicks out of 64 for this particular time frame within the last 20 days for this site. And so now what we could also do is get rid of all of the extraneous information and just look at what we really want to look at, which is just the number of clicks and the devices. So here's another screen of what you could do. You could isolate it and just focus on what you want to see in Search Analytics. Okay, so what does this tell us? Right? It tells us how our site is performing on mobile. So if you know that visitors are coming to your site on your smartphone, just because they're coming and clicking on it does not necessarily mean it doesn't necessarily mean that you're getting any sales out of it. So you may be able to use this to help you in the future invest more time and resources to making your pages look better on mobile devices, or to target specific pages so that you know if they're landing on specific pages from mobile, you'll capture some of those people and maybe make it converted into sales. Okay. Okay, so here's what I mentioned earlier about connecting Search Console to the Search Console query results with Google Analytics. As I said, and as Geeta had mentioned, we will not be going over how to do it, but there are instructions on online. All you have to do is search Google Search Console connecting with Google Analytics, and you should get lots of information. But the best resource, of course, is going to the Google support site. And for IndieCommerce users, though, we have instructions for Google Analytics and how to set it up on bookweb.org. So we recommend that you go check out the documents. It's listed here. And we also recommend that you look at a webinar that we did on Google Analytics. That's really great as well. So if I click on that, and you can see we have, okay, so this is our document on connecting. So you can find it in our Help Center by going to IndieCommerce Help Center, and look for Google Analytics. Okay, so now that we've done that part, so let's go to our next section. So how to make your site mobile friendly? Well, you'll have to look at, we have to talk a little bit about responsive web design. So because what our themes are based on is responsive web design. And it is also one of the things that Google recommend as their choice for making a site mobile. So why a responsive web design? Well, what is a responsive web design? What I should say. It serves the same HTML code and the same URL regardless of device. So it doesn't matter if you're on a smartphone or if you're on a desktop, a laptop, or a tablet. It will display differently for that device, but it will optimize it so that you can see the whole screen, you can see the content on there for that specific device. And it uses the same site. It just looks, it's just oriented and adapts differently to the device that it's being presented on. So the other two method that they also say that it can be used is dynamic serving, which uses one URL, but it produces different codes depending on the device. And the other one is separate URLs, which we used to have a long time ago. Separate URLs and uses different URLs and different HTML code. And these are sites, if you visit them, they have a different, if you look, it changes from the regular URL to some maybe m.storename.com. So there's completely two different sites.
Just a back history on that. Those who have been on our platform for a few years may remember that we used to have a different mobile version of our website, which looked completely different from the desktop version, and that is not good practice. And so now what the industry is recommending is to use the same site on mobile and desktop.
Okay, so how does responsive web design help make your site mobile friendly? So I have some points here for you to look at, and users can share and link to your content with one URL. It requires less time to maintain multiple pages for the same content. Of course, as we've spoken before, it has only one URL, and so it also requires no redirection because it uses the same code and uses the same URL, so it requires less time on your resource, less load time. And it saves the resources too, because Google only needs to crawl your site once. And so what this could do indirectly, it could help you, it could help Google index more of your content and keep it fresh. And of course, the most important thing that users see in the user interface is that they don't have to pinch or zoom to read the content on the page. So it's more likely they will stay on your site once they visit it, and they may roam around, and who knows, they may make a purchase based on that good experience. Okay, Google also offers a tool to test to see if your site is mobile friendly. It's called a mobile friendly test tool. You can find it if you do a search on Google, you can find it. It comes and it looks like this. Here is the link to it. So if you're unsure if your site is mobile friendly, this is a good place for you to come and check to see if your site is mobile friendly. So all you have to do is enter the URL in the field here, and Google will run it. It probably takes a few seconds for it to finish, and once it is done, it will send out some results to you, or it will display the results to you. So let's take a look at what a mobile friendly site looks like. Okay, so if your site is mobile friendly, it should look like this. It should say that the page is mobile friendly, there are no error messages, and over here on the right hand side, this is how Google sees your site, and it looks in, as you can see here, everything is readable, the image is clear, the text is clear, it looks good, and it has passed the mobile friendly test. So that's great for this website. Okay, so our next scenario is, what if your site isn't mobile friendly? And so this is what it would look like. You would see in bold red right there, the page is not mobile friendly. And of course, there are error messages here. These are issues that you need to fix. And of course, they tell you what they are. The content is wider than the screen. The viewport isn't set. A viewport is they're like instructions for a page's dimension and scaling, and that isn't set for a non-mobile friendly site. And clickable elements are too close to each other, as you can see here, and really can't read it very well. The text is too small. So this image here is a snapshot of how Google sees your site, and it is not mobile friendly. Even though you can see everything on the site, it is small. You have to pinch and zoom to see the page. Okay, so now, how would you optimize your site for mobile if your site isn't mobile friendly? And as we have discussed previously, when we were talking about the responsive design, we would use a responsive theme. So your choice here with IndieCommerce is to choose a responsive theme. So I know I've sent out some emails regarding responsive themes, and hopefully we'll choose some responsive themes and make your site mobile friendly. Okay, so what is a responsive theme? It's a theme that adapts the device it's viewed upon. So it doesn't matter if you're on a laptop or a cell phone. The user experience should be just as good. They should be able to read everything and do everything on the small device as they would on a big device. And we have on on bookweb.org actually a list of responsive themes. And we also have a list of sites using responsive themes. So if you want, we're gonna go here a little bit. And you can see here, this talks about, and this shows you the list of responsive themes that we have. It breaks it down by whether it has a color option, a drop-down menu, or a built-in slideshow. And keep in mind that some of these themes requires a little knowledge of PHP, HTML, or CSS to implement some of these slideshows. So when you are thinking about a new site, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit, to keep that in mind. But the list of all of these themes are available on your site right now in the appearance settings. And we also have sites using responsive themes. And here you can take a look at the different themes, the different stores, and of course the different sites. Visiting these sites will display the theme that they're using, and this may be helpful when you're redesigning your site and figure out how you want your theme to look, and we will go over that in a little bit. Okay, so choosing a new theme, as I promised, make sure it is responsive. Look at those responsive themes that we offer. Color options, make sure it has the colors that you want. For example, as we've seen in the Drupal 7 themes for IndieCommerce sites page, some themes have color options and others don't have color options. So you may want to take into consideration those themes if you feel that there's a particular color that you really want to have. And so why is a color option important? It could be important because, especially on a mobile design, you want to make the pages stand out. You want it to be vibrant, to have contrast on the page, at least make it visually appealing for your users. You might also want to consider a slideshow. Does it have a built-in slideshow, or should you create your own? Do you have the resources or the time to create your own slideshow or to work on it? Do you want a theme that you can just plug in a slideshow? All you have to do is provide the images. So those are the kinds of things you have to think about when you're choosing a theme. And of course, we are looking to add social media icons, so themes that don't have it. But some themes don't have social media icons right now, and some do. If they don't, you can add your own buttons. But if they do, all you have to do is plug it in. That's something you may want to think about. And every theme have different regions. Not all themes will have 2 sidebars. There may be some themes that only have 1 sidebar, but so you want to take a look at the regions that are available. Okay, and as I've mentioned earlier, does it require advanced knowledge to configure? Now, some themes will require some advanced knowledge to configure, and you want to take that into consideration when you're picking that particular theme. And the one thing that I can't stress enough is don't choose a theme that is labeled, this theme is not mobile friendly, when you visit your appearance page. So I'm just gonna go there quickly just to make sure and show you guys. So when you're on a particular site and you're in the appearance settings of your theme, okay, this is, you scroll down a little bit and you'll see all these themes here that says this theme is not mobile friendly. Well, that means don't select them. We are looking to retire these themes, and we put them here so that you guys know not to use them, even though maybe you find some of them appealing. It's not a good idea. Okay, so now that you've seen the list of themes and you know which ones not to pick, you can experiment with the themes. And we have a module already enabled on all sites that will allow you to experiment with themes in the background without affecting your current site. You can change it only for your account. It will not affect other people in your store. Users will not see it. It's a good way to try out new themes without changing it completely. And we have instructions for that on bookweb.org. But I want to show you, it's very easy and very quick to follow to set up. So I'm going to show you quickly how to do that. Okay, so I'm going to go to our sample site here. So before you can set up theme key, you have to select and enable the themes that you want used. So what we're going to do is we are going to go to the appearance section again. And I have enabled some of these themes already here, but I want to, let's say I wanted to enable the Bootstrap Business theme. I'm going to do that. And it takes a little bit. And I want to enable the Mix and Match theme. So I'm going to do that. Okay, so I've enabled the themes that I want to take a look at by visiting the themes page on BookWeb and by visiting the page with all the stores and the themes. I've decided I want to take a look at these themes. They have the regions. They look like they have the regions that I want. Okay, so now that...
Shanti, could you mention the difference between enabling and enabling?
Yes, of course, and I meant to do that. Yes. Now, when you first, when you enable a theme, it doesn't mean that it becomes the default theme. When you enable a theme, you can use it in theme key, but other people won't see it. But if you set it as default, it will become the default theme, and this will be visible to everyone. And this will be the theme that your site displays. So you don't want to ever set default on a theme. For example, don't ever select enable and set default, because that will change the theme immediately. Always just select enable, unless you're confident or you're ready to switch over to the other theme. Okay, so now to set up theme key after we've enabled it in the appearance section, we just have to go down to a user interface, theme key. I'm just going to click on that, and you can click on the settings tab here on this page. And this is in user interface. And there's a little link here that you can click on to expand. And here you see all the themes that were enabled for the site. So let's say I've enabled Mix and Match. I want that visible, and they're already some themes here that are already here. So I've enabled all of those already in Bootstrap Business. So I'm going to save. And my saving is done. So now in order to see my account in this new theme, I'm going to go to my account. I'm just going to click on my name up there. Or you can go directly to the My Account link on main menu, and then scroll down to theme configuration. And so now I'm going to see what it looks like in Bootstrap Business. Now, before I save this and take you there, remember, it may not look good initially because it's not set up for the Bootstrap Business regions. So you'll have to do some rearranging. Okay, so let's go to the home page. And actually, it doesn't look terrible on Bootstrap because it's quite similar to the other one. But sometimes you would get these blocks up here, and these blocks might be over here. But it translated pretty nicely into the Bootstrap theme, and no one else can see this theme but me on my account. Okay, so that's how you would.
Shanti, could you log out so we can show them what it looks like to a regular customer?
Oh, great. I will log out now. To a regular customer, they see the original theme. As you can see, it doesn't affect them one bit. Okay, there you go. So back to using theme key. Okay, so is your site using a responsive theme? So in this location here, we're going to present a poll to you. And Geeta's going to set that up.
Yeah, it's just a quick poll. We want to see how many of you are using responsive themes. We'll give you a few seconds to go in and then select your answer. I think we have everyone. So I'm going to close the poll and share the results.
Oh, perfect. Great. So 57% of you, that's wonderful. And for those of you who are unsure, hopefully this material will be helpful to you. Okay, so let's go back to our...
And part of what Shanti is going to cover today is, although you have a responsive theme, it's possible your site is not mobile friendly. So it's important to have a responsive theme, and also there is a lot of stuff that you can do to the content on your site to make it mobile friendly. Take it over, Shanti.
Thank you, Geeta. Okay, so as Geeta had introduced, make sure your content is mobile friendly. So do you notice sometimes, although you have a responsive theme, content doesn't always look that good? For example, perhaps the images look distorted, or it won't resize. So what do we do here? Okay, so the first thing you want to do is the first thing we're looking at. We're looking at tips to help make your site content mobile friendly. So we want, the first thing we recommend is optimize text for mobile viewing. So you want your text to be easily readable on a smaller screen. People shouldn't have to zoom in. You want your text to be at least 12 pixels or larger. And of course you want high contrast. You don't want a gray text on a white background or a black background. You want the colors to be as high contrast as much as possible, and use bullet points when you can, because that is easier on the eyes to read. Keep your paragraphs short as well. Shorter paragraphs, people are less likely to get bored or have difficulty reading on a smaller device. And make sure you break it up with some images on white space as well. So I have an example already here prepared for you, just to see an example of content that is written, text, and we're going to use a mobile view to see this. Okay, and so as you can see here, it doesn't look bad viewing on a mobile device. It looks, actually I can read it really nicely, but you can see all the three different text colors here. The lighter one is more difficult to read. The red one, of course, has the best contrast. You can see it well, but of course you only want to use red to highlight important parts of your text. And the darker one is pretty good to read too. And there's a space here that breaks up this other section here. But I do see that I can improve this a little bit more, maybe by adding another space here under this paragraph and adding some space between the image that I uploaded to break up the text a little bit to make it visually appealing to the eyes. So this is some a couple of things that I could do to improve this text. Even though it looks good, it's visible, adding more space to it will probably make it look a lot better. So let me just go into edit there, and I'm going to get myself out of this mode for a moment. And I'm just going to add space here, and we're just going to see what it looks like on a regular view. It looks okay for me on the desktop view as well. So I'm going to keep it, and then I'm going to come into my mobile view a little bit. And yeah, it breaks up, it gives my eyes a little bit of a rest, and it gives it some spacing. It's easy to manage and read, and I think this is better, and I'm going to keep it this way. It's great. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, so and also for images, you should upload the image the size that you want it to be for your content or for your page. And you don't want to have any width or height parameters in there, because what that does is when you resize it, it restricts it to that width and height parameter. So deleting it from the width and height parameter will actually make your images appear better, or at least adapt better to a mobile device. And also, when dealing with images, always use alternative text. Always add alternative text. It's ADA compliance, and it's also good to use text because, as if you are a little bit familiar with Google, they do like to read text. Okay, so now let's go visit this site for an example of an image that I prepared for you. Now maybe this is a book cover or something, and right now it doesn't look bad at all because I believe I'm going to go into edit. I've already moved the height parameters from here. So let me go back and add that in. And it looks okay while it's on this page. I'm going to save it. It's slightly distorted now, as you can see. And if I go into my mobile view mode, you can see that it's pretty distorted. This isn't what an image should look like. It doesn't look good. So I'm going to go back out, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit it, and I am going to remove the width and height parameters. And as you can see, I put an alternative text here to tell readers what this image is about. I'm going to say OK, and I am going to save it. And even though this is a large image, it looks much better now that I've removed the height and width parameters, even on the regular version. And then now I'm going to go and view it in my mobile view. And as you can see, it resizes very nicely. You know, it's small, it's smaller, but I can still see everything, and it's not being squeezed or squished. And this, and when you look at you notice there's a lot more when you're doing a lot of author events and you put author images up. For example, if you were to, so for example, for an author event, if you put an author image up like this, it's important for you to make sure that the image doesn't look bad on a mobile device. And I've already fixed this one, so it looks great. But if I were to put the width back in, it'll be just as squished as the other one. Okay. Okay, and also when you're putting links in, say you put some linked images or some links on your pages, just make sure they're far enough apart so that they're easily clickable on a mobile device. So pay attention to that too. And of course, menus. You know, have to make sure that your menu is responsive sometimes if it doesn't appear responsive, there is a menu module that we can turn on for you called Superfish. It's a Superfish module, and it allows you to, number one, have a drop-down menu on your site if your menu doesn't come with a drop-down. I mean, if your site doesn't come with a drop-down menu, and also a Superfish menu system is responsive. So here is an example of a site that has a responsive menu. I just want to show you what a responsive menu will look like. You've already seen it with all these different sites that I've been visiting, but we haven't really focused on it. And so you can see here, this is the hamburger icon. If I click on it, I see all of my menu options. This is what a mobile menu should look like. It shouldn't be all your menus listed in a row, one right under the other. It should collapse very nicely. Okay. Oops, I'm going back to my slideshow. And also footer, place important links in the footer. There's less of a need to scroll back up, especially on a small device. When you have to scroll down maybe a little while to get to the end of the page, you don't want customers to have to scroll back up. You just put some links there that they may want to visit or to find out more information. So here is an example. We, as at IndieCommerce, have an example footer that we put on all new sites that we create now. And I want to show you an example of that. Oops, I'm just going a little bit further out there. Let's go back here. Okay, for example, a footer, this footer down here, it has links to our hours, contact us, privacy, return, and help. We also put in the address, of course, the phone number, and of course every footer should have a copyright information, but this site already has it here. But this is an example of what we use for sites. And also we put in this message here. If you need assistance with this website, please contact us. This message we call it the ADA message. It's American Disability Act message, just to help people who may have questions about the site, who are somewhat impaired. Okay, so there you go. And avoid software that's not common on mobile. For example, Flash. I know my iPhone will not open anything in Flash, so I would completely avoid it from the site. Okay, so newsletter signups, interstitial. If you're using a pop-up, it's important to make sure that it doesn't cover the whole screen, because Google does penalize sites that have the pop-up cover the whole page. So if you're using MailMunch, there is a desktop and a mobile display version that you can set up. And actually, they have a really nice blog on their site why you should use the desktop version for a desktop and the mobile version for the mobile display. And it's a good read, you know, and you can go directly to the site itself just by looking, or you can just do a search for MailMunch and mobile display. Okay, so the next one is I want to show you what a MailMunch pop-up looks like that's not recommended. For example, I did this screenshot here from one of my mobile views on my computer. And as you can see here, it covers up the whole screen, and it's not a recommended way of putting up a pop-up. So the next one is what is recommended. So here, this is a screenshot of a site where it's set up correctly. And as you can see, the pop-up does not take up any real estate as far as visually, as far as content on the site. So it's out of the way, it's unobtrusive, and you can either subscribe or you can X out. So it's friendly, and it's also very pleasing to the eyes, especially on a small screen. It's less irritating. Okay, so So talking about email and mail munch and newsletters, I just want to give you a little bit of information that I found that I think that you might find useful if you're sending out newsletters. There's a study that was done on how consumers view and interact with email. It's done with over 2,600 adults. And they found that 3 in 5 Americans check email a few times a day. And so what does this do? It opens the door for real-time engagement. And also, there are 75% reported that their smartphones used most often. And you can see here that people do, when they receive an email campaign, they either visit the website or they make a purchase on the website that they're getting the email from. So this is important in a sense because it also reiterates the need for a good mobile website. So as you can see, the conversions on mobile are high through interaction with their email. And you can look at the report. It's just Google Fluent's inbox report, consumer perceptions of email, and you can download this report, actually read it for yourself. Okay, and so the next thing that we recommend to make your content better is try using a flex slider slideshow if your theme does not come with a built-in slideshow. And I have an example here that you can take a look at. Okay, so these are 2 slideshows here. One is Flex Slider and one is just a regular slideshow using View Slideshow. I mean, they both look great on my computer, but if you do switch to the mobile view, you'll see right away that the Flex Slider one resizes very nicely there, but the non-responsive one doesn't resize. And as you can see, it's sticking out and you can't see the rest of it. So it's important when you're doing slideshows, and if you have slideshows on the site right now, I recommend that you check it out just to make sure that it's responsive, because it's not something we always think about, but it's something to keep in mind. Okay. So the next one is the Views Responsive Grid module. We do recommend that you use a Views Responsive Grid if you're going to create something like a table, because what it does is it will resize nicely versus a regular table or a grid format. And as you can see again, I have an example just to show you that the responsive grid module, we have to enable this for you if you want to use this. Will respond very nicely on mobile. And as you can see, the non-responsive book list cuts it off right here. And so it's important also when you're making content on your site to use the responsive grid versus just a regular grid or table that isn't responsive on mobile. Okay, so it's the same thing. We've already mentioned this, working with tables, and use a Views Responsive Grid instead. Avoid using tables if you can. If you do, use maybe 1 or 2 columns. That may look okay, but you'll have to try it out to find out. Okay, so are you redesigning your site? Okay, so there is a tool when you redesign your site. But first, try think mobile first. So what does this mean? It doesn't mean that you ignore the desktop version. It's because the mobile display has more limited space. The viewport is smaller. The items are stacked. You want to prioritize important content. And this will probably also help you with the larger desktop as well, because when you're looking at it in a small screen, you realize, okay, so this information is important to me. This is what I want on the site. And so how do you translate that from wanting it on a mobile, stacked up in a certain way on a mobile site, and translating it to your large desktop? Starting from your mobile device will help make your mobile device look good, but your desktop has a lot more real estate, so you can still make it look good, despite the content that appears on how it appears on mobile. Okay, so the thing you want to do is you want to visualize your site. So I'm going to go over this briefly. And there is a tool out there. It's a free online flow chart. You want to place relevant information and important information at the top. And as you know, Drupal themes stack things differently. So I'm just going to go to there right now. And I'm going to open an existing diagram. And that existing diagram name is this one. I'm going to open it. Okay, so here it is. As you see, I did this chart here. I started with what I wanted, how I wanted my content to look on my mobile device. I stacked it up very nicely, and I looked at several themes that I saw when I was looking on at my list of themes that are available and the examples from the sites. And so what I found out is this is the look that I want for my site. So I put it all together by just moving this device around. For example, you can do that. And I color coordinated so it's easier for me to read. And what I did was I organized it in the way that I would recommend stores organize it. I want my logo first, social media second, search, navigation, content, and goes down the list. And you can also, what you can also do is you can also color this as well if you want to. So that it shows different areas when you're working at it. And I could also add another location as well. So now I have, after designing this, I went to a site and I designed a site to match what I have here. So what this did is it helped me visualize what I want on my site. And then it was easier for me just to go and build this after I had created this layout. So I'm going to go back to my slideshow, and here is the example site. Okay, and as you can see here, I have my social media, my search, my menu system, my content area here, in my upcoming events, staff picks, and all these other Kids Next List, gift card. They're all here, and my footer information is down here. So it's exactly what I wanted. And if you do this, everything is exactly as I wanted as well on mobile. It has my social media, my search, my navigation, my content, and of course, my footer at the bottom of the page, and my other content falling exactly where they should in my design. Okay, so it's going to go back to that. Okay, so now we do have some recommended stacking order, and as you saw in my demonstration earlier, you want some important things that you find important above the fold. But some common important things above the fold would be, of course, your logo, your store name, your contact hours and operation, your location, any social media icons that you have, and of course a search bar, because the first thing that people may want to do when they get to your site is search for something. I mean, that's what we see, what Google is saying. People are using their instrument for search. So search is very important. So in the middle region, of course, you may put some events, some gift cards, custom products or call to action. And of course, don't forget the all-important footer. It's there. And make sure it's accessible and has some important information that customers may look for. Okay, now last but not least, some information on IndieCommerce improvements to help make your site mobile friendly. Now, I don't know if you followed us on Indie Communication, but if you haven't, it's a good idea to do so. We send out Indie Communication regularly, and we talk about the things that we've improved. So we've improved the ABA Indie list. As you saw, the Indie Next List, kids, groups, indie bestsellers, they are now all responsive. The Browse Books page, of course, is now responsive too. We're working on the events calendar. It's an upcoming feature So look forward to seeing updates on that on our Indie communication. And also the wish list is now responsive, and we are also working to improve the wish list as well. So look for that as well, and you're gonna really like the improvements for both the event calendar and wish list. I can't wait for you guys to see it. It's great. Okay, and we also recommend using the responsive book list grid. You saw it on our examples that I've shown you. It's a book list that runs across horizontally instead of using a grid. We already have the responsive book list available. It's a module that can be enabled for your site. If you want to use it or give it a try, just email staff@bookweb.org. And when I show you some of these example sites, I'll show you what the book lists look like as well. And we've also worked on improving themes as well. We're working on their bamboo theme. We have yet to push out that, but we will. The Corolla theme and the responsive green theme. And I just want to show you some of the improvements for these themes. And here is the Corolla theme. We've added these social media icons here. And we've made sure that the search menu expands very nicely at the top of the page. That's just a couple of the improvements that we did on here. And what you could do is also, I just want to show you briefly the social media icons that are available for this theme. So if you scroll down, this is a good theme if you like lots of colors. It has a great color wheel. Take advantage of this theme if you have a particular color in mind. And also there are others here that I didn't enter. So if you don't enter anything in there, it won't appear at the top. But if you do enter it, all you have to do is come put your URL in and it automatically shows up for you. So it's nothing, you don't have to spend time creating these icons yourself. So this is a great theme to choose, and it's very clean and clear. And I really like it. It's new and improved version. And the other theme that is really good is the responsive green theme. This comes with a built-in slideshow. And I put all the icons that are available here. And this icon used to be here, but it's pushed down here now with the new redesign. And we think it looks much better. And as you can see, it's very nice. And you can change the colors. And I just want to show you that even though it's called responsive green, and it will continue to be called responsive green because we didn't want to confuse anyone with the name change, but it has a theme color configuration section here where you can choose different color palettes. And let's say you wanted your site to be red. So you would choose that, you would save. And now this theme that did not have color options before automatically has a color option, and it looks great in red as well. And we also made sure that the theme looked good on mobile as well. So as you can see here, you can see the logo is here, site name, and you can see this icon looks really great on mobile. And of course, this is a responsive, it comes with a theme, and it is a responsive slideshow, and that looks great as well. And it scrolls all the way down. All the book lists here is responsive. It stacks very nicely. And I also added some information down here, and everything seems to look good. And I really also like the new redesign of this theme. So if you haven't seen it and you want to take a look at it, it's available on your site right now. Okay, so we are continue to work to improve our themes, and we'll continue and send updates as they come and as we finish working on the themes. We hope to continue to improve mobile friendliness for all of our themes. And we also did add a few new themes that we think that you might like. And these themes are also very, very nice. And one theme is called the Zircon theme. And this theme has options at the top here. This is very, very nice. And it also has options at the bottom where you can put information. And what I like about this theme is everything you put at the top here, you can, it will appear above the fold. So anything important, you can put up the top and it'll appear above the content section. And everything is also responsive and looks great on a responsive device, a mobile device. Okay, so there you go. So that is, so just want to show you a couple of other themes. And this, you've already seen this. This is called United Symphonies theme, and I really like this theme too. It's a new theme. And here is the responsive book list that I was talking to you about. You can see it on this site here. And one other theme that you should look at is the business responsive. And I like this theme also because it has a very nice contrast between the menu items here. And of course, it also has some color options to choose from. And they're all very, very nice and very responsive on mobile as well, as you can see here. So this is a great theme, another great choice for you to choose. Okay, so last but not least, of course, test. Go through your site on a mobile device. We have some tools for testing on Chrome, as you can see. We have the Chrome mobile view. You can just right-click and select the mobile view option to see it. We have instructions on bookweb.org actually on how to use a Chrome mobile view. And Firefox also has their own responsive design mode. And of course, you can also use your
what Shanti is trying to do is open it up on her phone. So it's very important. Well, working on a mobile responsive theme is great, but you have to test it. You have to view your site yourself on different devices. Have your staff members in the store view the site on their devices, not just the home page, every page that you have, most visited pages. And also important, go through checkout on your site on a mobile device. Because it's also important, not just the pages, that when someone is placing an order on your website, all the checkout pages should be responsive. They should not be stuck with a button that doesn't work or a link that's out of place. So it's very important to test. That is the most important thing, because after all the work that you have done, if you have not tested it, then you're not sure that your site is actually responsive.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Geeta, for rounding that up for me. And I just wanted to show people here is the Firefox version of the mobile view mode. So you would just go to Tools, Web Developer, and you'll find Responsive Design Mode. And what I like about this theme is on Firefox, you can move it across and you can see how things respond to mobile. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining us today. And we look forward to your questions and any way that we can help make your site responsive.
Thank you, Shanti. That was a great presentation and lots of information in it. We do have some time. I know we went over by a few minutes, but we still have some time for questions. And I think we have a few questions that are already in. So let's start with those. So the first question was, when playing around with themes, is there a disadvantage to enabling all the themes, or will that slow the system down? Actually, it will not. You can enable as many themes as you want, the ones that you actually want to test. As Shanti mentioned, just enable them. Don't set them as default. The only default theme on your site should be the one that the customer is seeing. So you can enable all the themes, and also please ignore the themes that says that it's not mobile friendly. Because eventually, as we have all our members move to responsive themes, we will be removing the non-responsive themes from our platform. So yes, go ahead and you can enable as many themes as you want. If you have like few staff members, you can actually enable the themes, and each person can view the site on their selected theme. So that way you can compare it and maybe get a feedback from all the staff in the store. The next question was, doesn't this mean people need to stay on the page long enough to see the slider? I think this question is a follow-up from when Shanti was showing the slideshow. Whether you want to have a slider on your website or not is an individual's choice. Like if a store, some stores like it, they have their upcoming events showing up on a slideshow because that is very catchy and they use that to attract their customers' attention. But there are other members who think that having a slideshow is a distraction. So it is up to the stores. But if you choose to have a slider, the point that Shanti was trying to make is if you choose to have a slider, go with the flex slider. Because if the slider is not responsive, then it's going to affect the rest of the page. So use a flex slider if you want to use a slider. We have another question. Is it possible to globally strip picture sizing code from our website when we migrate to new mobile-friendly theme to prevent having to manually edit thousands of legacy images?
Huh, that's an excellent question.
Yes, that's an excellent question. We haven't tried that, but we can look into it and see if it's possible. So my guess is, this question, Jeffrey, so my guess is all your images have sizes in them already and you want to remove the sizes. We can definitely take a look at it. I don't know if there is a global way of removing the sizes, but we'll definitely look into it and get back to you.
But one other thing though, if you did upload an image that is larger than the size you resize it to, it's going to expand when you remove the parameters. So it might be larger than you intended to look. So that's why we recommend to upload the image the size that you want it to appear.
Okay. And the next question, is there a help page on the IndieCommerce site reminding me about what information is best to place in the footer? Yes, we do. We have information. We will include, yes.
Best practices.
In the help document, if you go to the IndieCommerce help doc, Shanti is going to browse to that page. If you go to the IndieCommerce help doc, there is a section on best practices. And one of the best practices that we recommend is to have a footer region with some important links in there. And there are also some sample copy for those links. You can grab that, and if you need additional information for that, we can also provide it to you.
There. If you go to IndieCommerce Help Center, it's under the first section. Let me go back so that you guys can see it again. It's under Getting Started. And it's under website best practices, and you just scroll down and you should see a footer, an area where we recommend some footer information down there.
Oh, I know.
Right here, create a footer list, number 5.
Yeah, number 5. Create a footer with links. Yeah, that's the one. Okay. So if you do, I know there was a lot of information shared today, so if you have other questions when you start working on your site, don't hesitate to write to us. You can always write to staff@bookvet.org, and we will help you choose a responsive theme and also help you with making your content responsive too.
One other thing before we end.
Yes,
there's some caution when working in ThemeKey that I should mention to you. When you're editing pages, menus, and blocks that have already been promoted to the default theme, it will be edited in the default theme too. So say if you want to change a block up and it's already on the site, on the live site, if you change that block, it's going to change it for the live site. So the best thing to do is, if you want all new pages, blocks, and menus to start fresh, to start with new ones. So this way it doesn't affect the default theme. Okay?
Okay, so So in conclusion, yes, optimizing your website content for mobile is more work. And generally, when we are creating content on our website, we don't think about mobile, but I think we should all start with the mobile first now. But the number of people using the mobile devices is increasing every day. And so we cannot afford to ignore those users, because that's going to hurt the business. As a follow-up, everybody who attended today's session, you will receive a follow-up email in about 24 hours. And we will try to provide a link to the recording of this webinar and also copy of the PowerPoint presentation, because there were lots of important links included in the PowerPoint presentation. So we will provide the PowerPoint presentation also. And as always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to write to staff@bookvet.org. On behalf of Shanti and the rest of the IndieCommerce team, I thank you for joining us today and hope you have a wonderful rest of the day.